This situation is utterly inexcusable, and it's clear that Dee Carrington must be suspended for Game 2. The news of her suspension for using steroids comes as no surprise. Should we really be shocked that the self-proclaimed queen of dirty play was caught red-handed? It's almost as if she's been playing her own twisted version of basketball, where cheating, attacking, and maintaining a facade of stardom are the goals. What she did was a cheap shot, certainly not a legitimate basketball play. She should have faced ejection from the game, and frankly, the WNBA might as well give her a trophy for this. Oh wait, they already did. It's called suspension. Bravo, DiJonai. Congratulations on finally receiving the attention you've been seeking, albeit not the kind that garners applause. Who would have thought that the same player who attempted to gouge out Caitlin Clark's eyeball would stoop to such a disgraceful level? This is yet another chapter in Carrington's dismal saga of doing whatever it takes to climb the ranks, because apparently genuine talent isn't her forte. I'm not exaggerating. During the very first 2 minutes of the game, as Caitlin Clark was trying to pass the ball, this woman swatted at it and, in a shocking turn of events, decided to jab her fingernails right into Clark's eye. This incident is an outright embarrassment for the entire league. Steroids, really, DiJonai? Is it that difficult to build muscle the honest way? This situation should have resulted in a fine. The WNBA ought to be thanking her for vividly illustrating what not to do if you want to be taken seriously as a professional athlete. And let's discuss the timing of all this. Carrington was being hyped as a rising star and a promising talent in women's basketball, boasting an average of 2.1 points per game and 5.3 rebounds. Well, all those stats are officially rendered meaningless now. Every single point, every rebound, every so-called highlight is now overshadowed by doubt. Congratulations, DiJonai. You've effectively turned your entire career into a joke. Moreover, Dee has a significant issue with Caitlin Clark, but let's not forget the most memorable moment of her career so far, that infamous eye poke on Caitlin Clark. Remember that? Of course you do. That was the moment we all came to realize that Carrington lacks not only talent, but also sportsmanship, class, and apparently self-respect. Caitlin Clark faced an assault in her very first playoff game in the WNBA. Seriously, who resorts to eye-poking in a professional basketball game? Was she training with the Three Stooges? If you can't outplay your opponent, is poking them in the eye really the answer? What's next, kicking players in the shins when the refs aren't looking? You think that had any impact on the game? Should a player's meal ticket be intentionally stabbed in the eye on the court? The repercussions of Carrington's actions on Caitlin Clark were no joke either. Carrington didn't just injure her physically, she attempted to mess with her mentally, as if Clark needed any more distractions while already carrying her team. Honestly, how pathetic do you have to be to try and take out one of the best players in the league simply because you can't keep up? Star in the WNBA? Yeah, she really got me good in the eye. We struggle to get stops at times, and it feels like one thing after another, like the clock getting messed up. But overall, it didn't bother me too much. And now, discovering she's been using steroids all along? Oh, so that's how she thought she could keep up, by juicing herself like a character from a poorly made superhero movie. But let's be real. Even with all that help from illegal substances, she's still out here playing dirty. That's a clear indication of a total lack of confidence in her own abilities. Damn it. In the first 2 minutes of this game, Dee Carrington stabbed Caitlin Clark in the eye with her fingernails. This steroid scandal is merely the cherry on top of a long list of disgraceful behavior. The WNBA has been struggling to uphold its integrity, and then you have players like Dee Carrington dragging it down. This isn't some random slip-up, it's a pattern. This is the same player who can't make it through a game without getting into altercations and taking cheap shots at her opponents. And guess what? Now we understand why she was so eager to be physical on the court. All that aggression wasn't just her trying to make a name for herself, it was probably the roid rage talking. The reactions from fans and players have been brutal, and rightly so. People are calling her out left and right, not just for tarnishing her own reputation, but for making a mockery of the sport. You know what's worse than being labeled a dirty player? Being known as a dirty player and a cheater. It's essential that we highlight this. One point I brought up this morning while discussing Caitlin Clark is that some players, if you want to call it jealousy, fine. If you want to call it envy, fine. Now, every single person who has ever praised her has to eat their words. DiJonai Carrington went from being a potential role model to becoming the poster child for what happens when desperation and stupidity collide. And let's be real about her physicality. She wasn't just physical. She was a walking hazard on the court. Eye-poking, shoving, arguing with referees as if she were auditioning for WWE SmackDown instead of playing professional basketball. This girl's highlight reel resembles a UFC fight night more than a basketball game. Just look at that May 15th game against the Dallas Wings. Dee decided to leave sportsmanship in the locker room and went full throttle with an unnecessary shove, as if she forgot she was playing basketball and thought she was going for a football tackle. Mocking Caitlin Clark on the court, Dee Carrington played a very physical game back then as well. And let's be honest, does Caitlin Clark sometimes flop? Perhaps I'm giving Dee an excuse for what happened yesterday. But what's next? Dee tackling the refs if they make a call against her? Honestly, that wouldn't surprise me one bit. And don't even get me started on her spectacular foul stats. She's averaging 3.5 fouls per game when the league average is 2.1. Oh, she's not just crossing the line, she's pole vaulting over it and planting a flag there. What a role model, right? Forget about actually playing basketball. DiJonai Carrington is teaching young athletes how to rack up penalties faster than points. That's her real talent, showing the world how not to play. It's not even aggression at this point, it's desperation, sprinkled with a side of, I wish I were actually good. But hey, let's add steroids to the mix, and suddenly it all makes sense. You know how they say that roids make people more aggressive? Well, Carrington must have been guzzling them like protein shakes. Her entire game revolves around charging at people like a bull on steroids. Oh wait, turns out she actually might have been one. And all that muscle she's packed on? Dee has a history with Caitlin Clark, as do many of the girls in the WNBA, but she's definitely at the top of the list. Yeah, hard work, right? Or maybe just a quick injection in the locker room before a game. Who needs practice when you can juice yourself up and pretend it's dedication? And here's the funniest part. Her performance has been all over the place. One night she's scoring 20 points, and the next she can barely hit 8. That's not just inconsistency, that's what I call, my secret juice ran out, and now I'm trash again. Seriously, DiJonai, if you're going to cheat, at least be good at it. Even your steroid use is sloppy. It's almost as if Dee Carrington believed she was invincible, thinking no one would ever notice her antics. But now she's been caught, and instead of the crowd erupting in cheers for her big plays, they're booing her off the stage. How's that for karma? Body contact. There are moments when players come off screens and are simply getting knocked around. I thought .B was getting some calls down low that she probably should have received. But let's not forget how Dee tried to justify her aggression. Oh, I'm just playing with passion. Girl, please. Passion is about blocking a shot or sinking a three-pointer under pressure. What you've been doing is throwing temper tantrums on the court and playing more like a street thug than a professional athlete. And now we find out about the steroids? Talk about scraping the bottom of the barrel. If you need to cheat just to play your dirty little game, then you've got zero business being in this league. It's like she's been playing Monopoly with loaded dice and still manages to land in jail. Most of the chaos we've seen over the last few months can be traced back to Caitlin Clark. I've got some stats in front of me to back that up because you see, I bring receipts, and I'll get to why I'm really furious in a few minutes. But here's where it gets really interesting. DiJonai Carrington has gone from being a rising star to a suspended cheater in record time. She's not just a